All right, good morning, folks. It is 11:05 a.m. This is Coffee with Community Services, Alta California Regional Center's weekly service provider meeting. My name is John Decker. Today is March 15th, 2024. We're going to get into our introductions of staff and our agenda, and then we will go into right away our sign of the week and our Deaf Culture 101. So for introductions of staff, we have Melinda Kimball, who is here. Good morning. I see Jessica on. Good morning. And I see Adriana and Tom on. I see our Director of Intake and Clinical Services, Camelia, is on this morning. Good morning. Michael is on as well. Good morning, Michael. And I see Carly on. Good morning, Carly from Community Services, and Beverly and Shauna and Gary as well. See our Quality Assurance and Compliance Manager, Scott, is on. Community Services Specialist Denise is here. Good morning. And I lead CSS. Jason is here. We've got Leah and Kylie as well. Good morning, Kylie. From our management, I see BJ this morning. Good morning, BJ, residential manager for our outlying homes. And I see Rihanna on from QA. Good morning, Rihanna, too. And Laura Gorham, our manager. Good morning, Laura. All right, let's roll through. I see Shamir on as well, our cultural diversity specialist. Good morning, Shamir. All right, Jordan is on, our specialized services and supports manager, and our associate client services director. I see Tracy Brown right there as well. And Ethan is on. Good morning, Ethan. And Sydney from Community Services, our director of client services. Jen Bloom is on as well. Good morning, Dana. So good to see you. Dana is on here as well from another one of our client services managers as well. And I see Helen on here, community services manager. Leja's on too. All right. We have a bit of a number of things to cover for our agenda today. So we're going to, as I mentioned, start off with Melinda. Then we're going to roll into, we're going to have Scott talk about HCBS updates. We got some new power or spreadsheets from the department on our status, and we didn't get a chance yesterday to share them at the PAC meeting. So we'll do that today. We have an update from Jordan about our CPP, CRDP request for proposal status. We have an update from me on the DSP stipend since we don't have Michelle Duchesne here today. We also have an infographic that outlines some of the different initiatives that are going on, some of the ones that we are funding, but there's certainly a lot more. And so we've kind of got all that in one place to share. Let's see if I've got Rhonda is actually over in Placer County right now. And so we do have a upcoming housing mixer, and we'll talk a little bit about the housing mixer with our housing access services too. I'll find that one to share with you guys. Let's see. We are going to go over with I think we'll have Melinda will talk when she does this, we'll also share our website a little bit and share some of the resources for the deaf and hard of hearing population and their families that are on our website. And I've got updates on the rate study that I did not provide last week, but a lot more information has become public over this last week. And so I want to give everyone just updated information with what Alta knows as far as the next steps with rate study implementation. We got a number of questions answered that we've been talking about in this meeting for many months. We are going to take a look at the GDS calendar of upcoming events. If anyone wants to share in the chat information about the upcoming Senate hearing on March 21st at 9 a.m. between now and whenever, if someone wants to grab that information and drop it in the chat, if we have anyone from CDSA or from CCLN or from any of the groups that are interested in public comment or participating, there's a push for that hearing. We have a discussion about that we had a little continuation from the PAC meeting yesterday, and just plugging some of our upcoming meetings like that we have, like our performance contract and our POS public meetings. So a few things on the agenda for today, but I'm going to start by throwing it over to Melinda, and you have full access to set up your screen to spotlight, and I think maybe let's try it like that.
Okay, then I will spotlight and see how this works. Interpreters, please let me know if we need to change some stuff. All right. If I spotlight, it says it removes all pinned videos. So do you want me to click that? Okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome today. to Coffee Chat, as I call it, or our Deaf and Hard of Hearing 101 here at Alta Regional, California. I am today going to be discussing a little bit about fingerspelling and the history of fingerspelling. And my awesome interpreters are going to interpret for me so I can be focused more on my content and what I'm giving, because my signing and speaking skills get a little weaker when I sign and talk at the same time. And I have to focus on one or the other. I can't do both. Fingerspelling is, well, you might be asking yourself, what is fingerspelling? Fingerspelling is a process of spelling out words by using hand shapes that correspond to the letters of the word. A set of hand shapes is used to spell words that we know of. It's called the manual alphabet. Just as there is no one universal sign language for all countries in the world, the same goes for manual alphabets. There are many manual alphabets throughout the world, and my last count on that from my deaf linguistics class was like over 40 different manual alphabets documented around the world. The first documented systematic writing system for sign language came from ancient Greece. Many people don't know that, and this was first documented in the 5th century BC by the philosopher Plato in his dialogue called Cratylus, Cratylus. American Sign Language uses the ASL manual alphabet and may also be referred to as the American Sign Language fingerspelled alphabet. This consists of 22 hand shapes that, when held in certain positions, which you will see today, make up all 26 letters of the American alphabet. So I will show you them, just like I did in my video, and explain a little bit of the snapshots and how to remember them. And then I'll get into the do's and don'ts a little bit, and we'll cover more of that later. Okay, so if everyone can get their hands up, the letter A is going to be making a fist with your dominant hand, by the way. So the hand you write with, the hand you do stuff with mostly, you're going to use that hand. And then when you get comfortable, you can swap over to your non-dominant hand and challenge yourself. And you'll see that the deaf will switch between both hands because they're fluent with it. But for us starters, let's stick with our dominant, make it easy. So A is a fist with your thumb on the side. B is you're going to now make the number 4, bring your fingers together and put your thumb across. C looks like a C. It also looks like choir symbols. If you sang the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, this is one of your upper registers, one of your choir symbols. D, you're going to extend your index finger and you're going to touch your middle, ring, and pinky to your thumb. And it makes what looks like a D from your perspective, because everything in sign is from the signer's perspective. So it looks like like a lowercase d to me when I look at it. And even if you look at it from your perspective, it looks like a D. E, you're going to take that 4, you're going to wrap it over on your thumb, or you can be up a little bit. That's fine too with the gap, but you're going to just rest it on your thumb naturally. F, you're going to make the OK symbol. We all have seen this done in different countries or different parts around the world, but this is the letter F. Is your index finger touches your thumb in a circle shape, and then you expand, kind of like a cockatoo, the bird, your middle, ring, and pinky. G, you're going to pinch the air on the side, is what I say. So you're going to extend your index finger and your thumb. The thumb from behind, there's a gap that you can see here. You can also see my thumb kind of come up back here. It doesn't have to. Typically, you hide it. And I like to say pinch it. So you can imagine there's a cotton ball you're pinching or something, or you're holding it there. That's the shape for G. H is going to be 2 fingers with the same thumb position in the back. So imagine you're picking something up. H. I, you're going to go to T with the queen. Okay, so you're going to wrap your thumb, index, middle, and ring finger are going to touch your pinky. Touch your thumb. And then you're going to extend your pinky. You're going to go to T. If I hold a mug, I've done it with my mug before. Same kind of hand shape. J, take the same I shape, and you're going to make an imaginary fish hook in front of you. You can kind of outline the letter J or a fish hook. J. K, you're going to make the number 2 towards yourself, put your thumb in between. L, you're going to make the letter L. We've done this since middle school, and it's something that's used quite a bit. You're going to extend your index finger and you're going to extend your thumb. You're folding down your middle, ring, and pinky straight down. The letter M is going to make the number 3, as we might think of it, but actually it's a sign language number 6. And you're going to bend it over your thumb and your pinky that touch each other. So you'll see people in the deaf community have it straight. That's the letter M. You also see it curved. That's the letter M. It's just two styles. Pick whichever's comfortable to you. N, you're going to take the number 2. You're going to then also bend it over your thumb that's now touching your ring and your pinky finger. And again, you'll see it straight or you'll see it curved. Same thing. It's just a style difference, whatever's comfortable for you. O makes the number 0 in front of you. We don't expand. Remember, if you expand your fingers, that's the letter F. So keep those fingers down. It looks like an O, looks like a 0. P, you're gonna make the letter K and you're gonna have it fall at your natural wrist drop, okay? So the way I used to teach this when I was a deaf education teacher is I used to fold it over. And you can see like a big letter P that's being formed from your wrist all the way around and straight down, okay? So K is straight up, P. And there's a trick to remember the two. If you like Pokemon, you have Pika. Pika, you have the P that goes down with the lower tone volume, K goes up with the upper tone volume. Or you can look at it like K looks like a big capital K, and P just falls over naturally. It looks like a P. Q, you are now going to take that G shape and you're going to pinch the floor. Q. R, cross your fingers for good luck. S, you're going to now make a fist. And remember, you cannot punch something with your thumb on the side. You'll break your thumb. You have to punch with your thumb underneath, not wrapped around, just underneath your fingers. So this is S. T is going to be the number 2. And now you're going to put your thumb in between and fold it over. T. And it looks like a T. From my perspective, it looks like a miniature small T. U, make the number 2 and glue your fingers together. V, make the number 2. W, you're gonna make the sign language number 6, or you're going to extend your index, middle, and ring finger straight forward and straight up, and you're going to touch your thumb and your pinky. X, you are gonna now make a fist, and you're gonna curve your index finger like Captain Hook's hook from Disney, if that helps with a visual. It's just gonna be curved over. You're not going for anything tight, you're going for something comfortable. Y, you're going to extend your thumb and your pinky, and you're going to fold down your index, middle, and ring finger as much as you can. And Z, and take your pointer, index finger, and you're going to trace the letter Z in front of you. Okay? So if we quickly do it all together, we can do it together with some pacing. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. So I sent you guys a bunch of notes about this, but basically it boils down to a couple golden rules, as I call them. When do we fingerspell? We fingerspell for words we don't know. We point to it and we ask, or we fingerspell the word. I do that almost every day with Michael because I'm learning stuff all the time. We also fingerspell people's names. We fingerspell people names of places. We fingerspell titles, nouns, proper nouns, all of that stuff. We fingerspell brands and products, and we fingerspell for emphasis. So sometimes there are words that are signs you will also see fingerspelled, and you know that person knows the sign, and it's just to make it more clear to you because, again, sometimes when you fingerspell, if you're bouncing your letters, it can be blurry or it can look like screaming. So we want to make sure we're keeping a steady hand. But you might be wondering where? How do I put this? So if you imagine around yourself, there's an imaginary horizontal box, and your hands are going to sit at what's called your signer's space. It's between your shoulders, and it's between the top of your head and about your mid-waist, like the bottom of your ribs. And you're just going to have them sit there naturally. You're not going to shrug your shoulders because that's not comfortable. And you're not going to be super lazy backwards either because that's not comfortable either. You want to be somewhere in the middle where it feels most natural for you. Everyone is going to have a different posture, and that's okay because sign language is a flexible language. So if the letters we made together today, you cannot do on your own easily because it hurts, find an approximate in the same shape, and that's assumed to be the letter that it is closest to. Because sign language is flexible that way. We take approximate signs to mean the specific sign. When you are signing, or expressive rules, as the notes say, you want to mouth the whole word. So an example would be my name, Melinda. I mouthed my name. I didn't mouth every letter. Then you also want to keep your hand again in that signer space that's below the chin and inwards. That's what your signer space is. And you don't want to bounce your hands because it's really, really hard to see when I'm bouncing my hands, right? I can do the whole alphabet and you wouldn't know what letter I'm on because it's blurry and it's hard to see. So you just want to keep your hands steady. Receptive rules. You want to use your dominant hand while your finger spelling. If you write with both hands, start with your dominant, move over. I already addressed that. You can switch when you get comfortable and you want a challenge, go for it. And I will switch often. Michael switches often, that's okay. You want to focus on the hand shape of the letters being formed and the word that it's making. You don't really want to focus on the individual letters that you see, because again, that's like when we're reading and we see the word boy, we learn ba-oy for sounding out. We don't learn ba-oy, B-O-Y. We don't learn it that way. We sound out words. Same concept applies here. And you also want to focus on the signer's face, because a lot of what we'll say, we may mouth or we may gesture with our nonverbals, and that will also give you an insight to what word we're saying. Helpful hints, again, continuing, is you don't want to say each letter, say the sound it makes. You would like look for context clues, such as if I'm talking about my cup here and I'm spelling C-U-P, cup, and I'm pointing to it, or coffee, and I'm pointing to that, there's some association involved. And you want to use what's called closure skills, which we all know. And that's by using the context of the conversation to help put the word together. This will help you fill the gap so you may not need to see every single letter. And then I also included a brief note from my close personal friend who is a doctor and professor of sign language here at California State University, Dr. Vickers. And basically he summarizes it to say that there is a lot of different words out there and a lot of different regional signs. There's only about 10,000 American Sign Language signs that have been adopted by the American Sign Language community and officialized, meaning no matter where you go, from California to New York, from Maine to Florida to other regions that speak ASL, which there's only a couple outlying regions that do, they will be the same. That core context is only 10,000. But if you compare, we speak 140,000 words in English, that's a big difference. So we have to use the differences of regional signs, which is the custom signs to that region, on top of the base set of 10,000 words to figure, and finger spelling to come up with a language. And that's why sign language can take a little bit longer sometimes to express compared to spoken language. And sometimes it can be faster. Less words have to be included because we don't use articles and like we do in English, and that's a different conversation. And then also, I included a quick snippet about the word burrito. The word burrito has one sign that's been culturally adopted in multiple parts of the US, but it's actually not documented in the dictionary of 10,000 words. So that is why Dr. Vickers, or Vickars, will say that even the sign burrito that we use, and it's signed like this, straight up, or straight up to your mouth, or just being folded over, is not culturally accepted. There's not one universal sign. There's a couple different ways, depending on the region you're in, to sign it. And that's really it for today. I challenge everybody here to try it out and to learn more about it, and to challenge yourself. Find Michael and I, find other signing staff on our team here. Send us a message through Teams and introduce yourself. Have fun with it, and try. That's the only way you're going to get better with finger spelling and sign, is just to do it. And don't be afraid of looking awkward, because I have been there. ASL is my second language that became my first. And it's something that we just have to grow through, just like when we had to learn how to talk when we were younger. Same kind of thing. Does anyone have any questions for me at all?
I just wanted to note in the chat, certainly I appreciate the comments there. And I would concur that certainly a great way to present that, and um, breaking down the communication barrier there, and letting folks practice finger spelling is something that I think, at least for all of our community services staff that we have on here as well, and a lot of our managers, again, just to ensure that we've got an environment where people recognize that practice is okay, And
Mhm.
that's why we do these meetings here as well. So thank you very much for that. I did just drop in the chat real quickly, and we don't need to get into it too deep, but because this group is a little bit familiar with it, but in the chat is a landing page where a lot of these resources can be found. And maybe next week we can go spend a little bit more time going over kind of what we have in there, and then maybe some things that you might want to see that are included in that part of our webpage too. So we can
Yes.
talk more about that. But thank you very much, Melinda. That was awesome. And
I'm
for
gonna
staff,
drop.
I yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm gonna drop the link in the chat for feedback. So if you guys want to add the
Oh,
website
perfect. Yes.
feedback, that'd be a perfect time to do that. I'm gonna drop that in the chat now. And thank you so much for our short chat today, our short lesson, and I look forward to signing with all of you.
All right. That was great. Thank you so much. Right on. Yes, thank you guys in the chat. That's cool. This is very important to us. Those of you that were at the PAC meeting yesterday heard us talk about it there as well, but really want to be able to provide this opportunity for our service providers. I appreciate the priority that our regional center has placed on this, and the competencies of our new staff that are doing this is amazing. So thank you so much. All right, I am going to jump over now to Scott, and I believe you can share your screen. Hey, Carly, I have your hashtag stuff too, so we can do that as well. We'll get there. Scott.
Okay, now you can hear me, right? Just want to introduce
You're good.
myself
Yep.
again. Okay. My name is Scott Barr. I'm the Quality Assurance and Compliance Manager here at Alta, and I oversee the HCBS team. I wanted to just share some information that we received. And you're seeing my screen right now. It says statewide progress.
Looks great. Yep. That's the
Great.
exact one I wanted you to share. Yep.
Wonderful. So I'm proud to say that we are in number 4. We're in 4th place with all the regional centers in the state with 26%. So we have hit the benchmark that we were going for this first quarter. And I'm really proud of it. The other thing is that it says 22% here in the middle. That's 22% of the sites that we've reviewed that are compliant upon review. And so that turns out to be about 85, 86%, which is strong. And I think that we also started off with some of the more complicated and challenging providers. And so that's a very strong graphic right there. We're very proud of it. And right now we are looking at, well, there's that other graphic. That's the 85% that is compliant currently upon first review. So you can see from some additional statistics, these are the statewide again. ACRC has 525 settings. That's reduced by a couple now. But we've got 134 reviewed as of March 1st. And so as you are able, if you're at the regional center, please swing by my office. You'll notice that there's a new informational graphic that's going to be posted on the door that'll show our progress from week to week. So you can see what everybody is doing in terms of HCBS review activity. The other piece I wanted to share really quickly, unless John, if you had anything else that you wanted to say about these graphics
Well,
here.
I just want to make sure you share about the other piece, so go for it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try to stop sharing. There we go. And so the other aspect of the HCBS reviews is not necessarily on site. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that happens as well. One aspect of it is that we're reviewing program designs. And a lot of providers sometimes have older program designs, or things have changed, especially since COVID, that need to be updated. And so that when we do come out to your programs, that we see the things that we're expecting to see. Additionally, we are going through the IPPs that are all associated with each vendor. And so again, we're looking to make sure that there is congruency with what is in the IPP and what is actually being presented as far as services rendered at the different vendor sites. Recently, we've had some things that popped up that allowed us to ensure that clients' rights were being preserved by going through and addressing and identifying some of the challenges that we're seeing case by case, and working through that with service coordinators and managers to make sure that, again, we're preserving people's rights that have those in place. So I feel very fulfilled by this movement. I have a brother that's got special needs myself. He's not in California, but he would benefit from these things. He would benefit from having people at the regional center overseeing his programs and making sure that things are being delivered in a person-centered manner. So it warms my heart to be able to work with this group. We welcome all questions and concerns. We have an HCBS inbox that hopefully, Kylie, maybe you can pop that into the chat, and it will answer as quickly and timely as we possibly can. That's all I've got, John.
Scott, were you able to bring on some new staff as well? I don't know that we have them here, but you were able to bring on a couple, right? Or we
We
could do some
did bring on,
introductions.
yeah, I don't think that they're on today, are they? Let's see, I'm looking
Well,
really
if they've
quickly
heard, if
through.
they're on and they have their cameras on, they're going to get called on, and so it might be. I with them, I wouldn't have my camera on.
Right?
But we'll have you make sure we do some announcements because we certainly have been as we are demonstrating to very openly, we are really trying to step up to the challenge of getting all of these HCBS reviews done, and with that, requires us to have the staff to be able to make it happen. And so Scott is doing a great job with this thus far. I do want to know if anyone had any questions about the HCBS kind of status of where we're at. I think just for our regional center, I feel confident that we will be able to get to our goals for the August, end of August. And it's a lot of support from case management and a lot from the service providers, but I think we've got a great process. So thank you so much for that, Scott. Jordan, we've got something upcoming as well, don't we?
Yes, sir, we sure do.
The chat.
So I just I'm going to drop a couple of links in the chat so you guys know where this stuff is on our website, and then I'm going to share my screen. So I know that we have talked over the past month or so that it's an exciting time of year when Alta Regional Center is doing our requests for future proposals for our 2023-2024 community placement plan and community resource development plan. So I will share my screen and let you guys see where this is on the website. So this is the time of year, right, where we're hoping that a whole bunch of maybe current vendors or new applicants want to apply for our projects. You'll see it's here on our request for future proposal page. And then also, we did a public meeting regarding the request for future proposal. We described all the projects and the application process. So I do encourage you, if you were not able to join us back in February for that public meeting, that we have the video right here connected for you so you can watch that. And then attached to the request for future proposal, all the formal instructions. So for anybody that is interested in applying for one of these development programs, right? Then we would ask that you submit your proposal by Wednesday, the 20th at 3 p.m. And this handout right here goes into full detail. I'll kind of scan through it for us. But as you guys may recall, we are proposing an enhanced behavioral support home. So this first part will give you a full description of the project, right? What the expectations are, what some of the qualifications will be. We do this for each project. We give a description, right? So we're also going to be proposing the residential care for the elderly. That is going to be a specialized residential facility under Service Code 113. It will not be considered an ARM level, like level 4I home, right? We did get approval for that to be a specialized residential facility. We are also looking at another financial management services agency, out-of-home respite, a new psychiatric provider, looking for a new vendor to provide psychiatric services to our clients with dual diagnosis needs that might not be able to access things through the county behavioral health or their primary insurance. We're also looking at an outpatient substance use disorder provider, right, to help our clients that have co-occurring substance use disorders. housing access services for help our clients find housing access. And this is kind of a focus in our outlying areas, right? We have a couple of strong providers that are helping us in our Sacramento area and looking at really helping some of the outlying counties with securing housing. So you'll see that we next have an enhanced and deflection SLS. All the full description is there. And then this next part of the handout really goes into the application, right? And what is going to be required for the proposal that people are going to be submitting by next Wednesday at 3 p.m. We also have our timeline, right, for this. We hope to have everybody's proposals reviewed and scored by March 29th so that in April we can start interviewing interviewing applicants. My apologies on that. It also goes over the startup funds, right? Just some education on that. And then you'll see that we have very specific application questions and a format for these written proposals for each of the specific projects. So if you have any questions, you'll see, right, some of them they're all here. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me and my staff. I'm going to put some of our information in the chat so that you can reach out if you have any questions. And this is, of course, also the email where you would submit your written proposal. Any questions on that? I just kind of gave a brief overview. I know we've gone over it in detail here at Coffee. So, but if anybody has any questions now, I'm happy to field them. And if not, please reach out to us.
Thank you, Jordan. And again, thank you for the creativity of a lot of different types of projects to address a lot of different type of stakeholder feedback that we've received. That's the reason why the state has expanded our ability beyond just using this money to move people out of institutions, but to address, larger issues like, for example, people that are in need of some respite supports, and being able to have a respite center is something that has been years and years worth of feedback from folks to be able to expand opportunities like that. So thank you very much for all the efforts there. I don't have all the numbers and things like that handy actually as it relates to the DSP stipend, but I just want to continue to share with folks as I share the infographic that our regional center is still well above the other regional centers as it relates to the participation of our service providers. And we did hit 9,000 trainings completed by DSPs. The closest other regional center is about 8,000 trainings completed by their DSPs. And as you guys know, there's a number of regional centers that are a lot larger than we are. So again, I think our service providers are continuing to demonstrate their participation in these activities. And I do want to give, both Michelle Duchesne and her staff and that are, we have here and others, it's just in promoting these activities. And you as service providers, I know I talk about, the promotion you have to do internally to make sure that you get, this information out to your communities, or excuse me, to your DSPs. But anyways, I just wanted to again talk about the promotion of these things and making sure that we are giving you all the public information possible. So the direct support professional training, I think we've hit most of our vendor categories so that folks are aware that they are, able and capable to be able to participate in the DSP training stipend. I know we've had, additional discussions during the early start vendor forum this last week. I know that it came up when we did the job fair that we had a few weeks ago as well, where we were promoting the DSP stipend as just another additional opportunity for service providers across a lot of different service categories to be able to qualify. I will say it again, we certainly months and months ago talked about transportation providers being able to qualify, their staff as well to be able to participate in the stipends. So we really want as many as people to do it, and you guys are absolutely doing it. Michelle Duchesne put this infographic together to kind of go over some of the different training stipends and things that are being funded through the regional center right now or being planned to be funded through the regional center, just so that for me at least I kind of have it all in one place. And so on here is also the early intervention training reimbursement, which is another training opportunity that is available directly for those service providers. And I know we've done a lot of outreach directly to those service providers related to that. Additionally, implicit bias training being available for our psychologists as well. There's been some recent operationalization by the department related to funding for service providers that might be interested in participating in this. And so that is kind of prompting the ability to start advertising this because there was some answered questions as it related to the participation. So that'll be going out to our providers for them to be able to participate in that. For our psychologists, and then many of our staff are aware that there's also corresponding training that's being done internally for regional center staff as it relates to implicit bias too. And again, there's new directives related to all of these things, and sometimes the directives get a little bit confusing. So that's why I want to make sure we're all clear on some of the different ones that we have. Additionally, we have the Coordinated Family Supports Implementation Incentive. That's another new program that has launched recently as well. And for those of you that are doing coordinated family supports and are interested in further discussions about that, I think Jason, you're still the person right now for coordinated family supports. And if people did want to follow up about how they could possibly, you know, for those that may be doing it or want to do it, my understanding is this is tied to them, completing that standardized reporting, which allows them to see how effective the kind of the pilot is for the coordinated family supports. So Jason drop his email there in the chat if folks had questions for him at all, I think, about the coordinated family supports implementation incentive. I want to talk more too, I think, not in this meeting. Well, not right today, but I want to talk more about coordinated family supports as well and how we can look at trying to expand the both people that are interested in providing the services, but also really work on internally at our regional center, kind of defining what the utilization of the service is for. And that's a challenge when you launch a new service like coordinated family supports, like the department has done, is making sure that regional centers are all have a message about how the service can be utilized as well. So I think we'll have further discussions about that. We'll turn that into maybe a topic for agenda here in the future for this meeting. And then the bilingual multilingual pay differential we are piloting currently right now. This I think is going to be a great project. Michelle Duchesne is working directly with DDS to ensure that the setup for this and the communication is aligned with regional center and service provider needs, because the DSP stipend was not something we were as involved in on the front end. And so they've done a very good job of responding, I think, to the feedback of you as service providers. My understanding is Michelle in the near future can certainly give more of an update related to the bilingual multilingual pay differential, but I think that'll be, again, another great opportunity for you as service providers to ensure that we are providing just a really broad range of opportunities of services for our clients by hiring staff that speak their languages and can connect with them a lot more effectively directly. So stay tuned for that. My understanding is, we'll be operationalizing that in the upcoming months once the department finalizes some of the exchange of information between the service providers and the regional center for funding. All right. Also in the chat, real quickly, Melinda put some information in there about our upcoming events. And so I'm going to just I'm going to share my screen again with, share my screen again here with information about the upcoming events for our regional centers. So I'm going to go to our website. I'm going to share our screen. I always like to show folks how to navigate on our website to things. A lot of times you can hit the little search function right there, but not always. And so nice to know where things are at, like our events calendar, and being able to see what our upcoming events are. So you can see the events, and one of the things that I had mentioned before is that some of these things are like cross-posted, so you can come here and be able to see it on the events calendar. Then we also have some of the things in our specific sections, like the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services page that's in the chat a little bit earlier. So just wanted to point out, please make sure that you are checking out our website and looking at all of the upcoming events. For years, our service providers asked during the provider advisory committees for us to create a place for us to post their events that they're going to be going on, their community things. So I'm very pleased. I know that the staff are getting a lot of the content on there. I had an opportunity to listen to Dr. Morgan speak recently at the CalTash conference and about Sankofa. And so that's another one I think that maybe might want to spotlight a little bit more as it relates to this meeting too, because she did a great job. And Jennifer Bloom and I were sitting there trying not to, we were all planning on how we wanted to expand some of the research that she's been doing and turn it into some great training for staff, and want to get folks connected with some of the different groups. I did mention earlier there is a housing mixer coming out, and I mention it because um, there is a lot of events and things that go out. We send out things to you all via our MailChimp server. It's you subscribe on the front page of our website and things come out. But what I love seeing this morning was that not only had this one already gone out, this upcoming mixer had gone out to you as service providers, but you as service providers, one of the service providers had already shared it, and it had gotten back to the regional center that had already been shared by you guys. And I say all of this because there's a lot of content that we put out via that. But some of these things are kind of rare, like being able to talk about, opportunities for affordable housing and getting to know a little bit more about the services. And so just shout out to you as service providers that when we do send out these things from our from our website, that you guys are then sharing that information internally as well. And again, you can just direct people to check out our events calendar, because there's detailed descriptions in there as well that talk about what the meetings are about, what the different groups are about, and there's links to their materials. So it takes some work to get all this on the events calendar. I really appreciate it. And I think it gives a very broad view of a lot of the different activities that are going on throughout our area. So just want to continue to plug that, and then also being able to connect with for our populations, like our deaf and hard of hearing, to the events like we had on there for NorCal as well. So got those on there. Okay, rate study update. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen real quickly. No, I don't know. I'm going to share my screen, I guess. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go to DDS's website, and I'm going to talk about the rate study. I'm going to talk about some things that I didn't really share last week, but I talked about yesterday during the provider advisory committee, and things are pretty public. And so I want to make sure folks are on the same page about it. And we've got 81 of our closest friends on right now, so there's no secrets. So here, this is what's going on with our regional center as it relates to the rate study implementation. We've been telling you previously that, and I'm going to go to DDS's website so I can kind of outline some of these materials. But basically, the rate study implementation still is tied to what is existing law, which is that the rate study is to be implemented by the end of this fiscal year. There's a budget proposal that's been put in place. There's been ongoing discussions related to the statewide budget deficit that have led folks to have a lot of concerns, because they've requested pushing back the implementation of the rate study. Oh, look at that. Interesting. It's the first time I feel like DDS took the rate study information off the front page of their website, unless they put it somewhere else. So with that, the Department of Developmental Services has now decided that they are going to be breaking up into work groups based off of different service types in order to accomplish the next steps of implementing the rate study, whether the rate study is going to be implemented on July 1, or whether the rate study is going to be delayed as is currently proposed in the governor's budget. There has been a significant amount of political support for the full implementation of the rate study, including by our regional center, including by the Association of Regional Center Agencies, every large kind of advocacy group tied to regional center supports and services for clients, as well as, I don't know, I think we saw the letter that went out from at the legislature, but there was like about 30 folks from the assembly that signed on, and I think folks from the Senate as well, as far as ensuring that the rate study is fully implemented. Because of a lot of the challenges that are going on, there was an opportunity for regional centers to participate in these work groups. And so I will share that I am part of the transportation work group. I will be meeting directly with DDS next week for the purposes of outlining what the transportation, what the kind of the final implementation of the rate study as it relates to transportation may be. There's a lot of different transportation rates that are across statewide, and regional centers and service providers need to know what to expect with either the rate study happening on July 1, or if it gets delayed. DDS has not been able to provide that advisement to regional centers yet. You've heard us talk previously about crosswalk documents that indicate where people were vendored at currently and where they need to possibly be to fully implement the rate study. The department has now folded those activities into the development of these work groups that are meeting to create the service descriptions that will also outline what the rate methodologies are. Seems like a whole lot of activities to go on. My understanding is that the goal is that I guess by maybe towards the end of April, they are looking at trying to be able to get information back out to providers about what to expect and to regional centers on how we're going to be implementing this aspect of it. Michelle Johnson, who's on, I don't know if she's on right now, but Michelle Johnson's on the work group for residential. Service providers wise, Redwood Family Services is a vendor of ours, is on the residential group, but they're also a statewide service provider. United Cerebral Palsy is on the transportation group. The Desert Arc down in San Diego is also on the transportation group as well, because there are service providers across different service categories that were also included in these. So that gives us a good opportunity because Eric Champa from UCP and myself are both part of DDS's work group, and Michelle will be part of the residential work group. So we should be able to give you all a good update on kind of the status of the rate study implementation between now and the end of the year and the contingencies that basically exist. What are the activities that need to occur if we're going to fully implement the rate study on July 1, or if we're going to delay the implementation of the rate study, then what do those activities look like? And the context to this is that to implement the rate study, it's not just increasing people's rates, but there's also a quality incentive piece for the last 10% of fully implementing the rate study that's written into law. And so, as you can imagine, the quality incentive expectations for service providers that might need to be completed from like June 1st to June 30th of this year to get the rate study might be different than the quality incentive measures that they put in place if the rate study implementation is going to be delayed. And that's some language that's actually in the governor's proposal, I believe, is that this does give the department more opportunities to be able to figure out what some of those additional quality incentive pieces are. Right now, there's not a ton of them that have been developed. If you run adult residential facilities for people with specialized healthcare needs, they've figured out what those ones are. There's some extra reporting requirements that they added to those, but they haven't figured out across all the different service categories. And again, the likelihood that these work groups that we're putting together are going to have maybe some of the definitive answers that you as service providers have been asking us is probably not a strong likelihood over the timeframes that we have. However, that being said, we are committed to supporting the department and trying to ensure that we've got the information to be able to share with you all, and also that we really know what our staff of community services specialist activities need to be between now and the end of the fiscal year. For example, Jason keeps wondering, do we have to revendor all these 055 vendors? Like, what's going on here? It's a little daunting when you look at, us. We develop a lot more day programs, I've learned recently, than other regional centers do. And so that kind of also explains maybe why I will say the department, as it relates to 055s for the community-based day programming, there was a discussion yesterday at PAC, but I will repeat it here, that I don't think that they've fully defined what those work groups are going to look like. The other work groups, I tried to get into professional services. I tried to get into like behaviorists and that one, and transportation. Those were kind of the two that I looked at. Michelle looked at residential, but there's across a number of different service sectors for that they're going to be doing these work groups. So any question I just know that we're going to be able to give you updates. My first work group meeting is next week. And so I'll have an update in a couple weeks about the status on that. And then I know Eric Champa is kind of committed to keeping the provider advisory committee updated through those discussions as well. It's confusing because there's been a bunch of other work groups that have kind of tried to address these issues over the last year. And it sounds like this is just the department saying, we've decided on a track of how we're going to try to figure out the last part of this implementation, and formalizing it with support from the Association of Regional Center Agencies and Service Providers. Also, just real quickly, I wanted to share the vendor forums are also on our events calendar. I think residential folks, some of you are on right now from community services, but we've got one next week, I think, that's coming up in our community service. I see Denise nodding her head, and Jason as well. So we've got that coming up. Knowing nowadays with Michelle Duchesne, we seem to have pretty healthy agendas that are being worked up for these meetings. We've got some good stuff planned? Does anyone know for adult and residential? Are we still accepting any so we're still accepting agenda items, and I just tell you the link to be able to do that is on our events calendar as well. I have the information about the upcoming hearing, and so I do want to share my screen real quickly. So folks that want to be more politically involved in things, there was quite a charge by Jackie Foss yesterday for participation by our local service providers in person at the upcoming hearing. Um, I know myself, I have enjoyed attending these hearings in the past with Michelle Ramirez, and she unfortunately ended up on the front page of the screen, which means I get to call on her now. Michelle, can you maybe give a little plug by why it might be important for service providers to be present at things like this?
Yes, so as you know, the rate study has been, it's proposed to be delayed, and so our legislators love to see our clients, our service providers down there speaking on behalf of why this is important to them. Nothing is better than having somebody that is a client to help testify. So you know, I've already put the word out to our team to try and get their facilitators as well as their clients with them down at the Capitol next week on Thursday. I think the hearing starts at 9:30. It's in the Swings Place, which is on O Street. So we did secure a larger room, so it should be better than last year if any of you attended last year. So yes, try to come.
I want to stop sharing my screen yeah, I'll stop sharing my screen real quickly and just I hope that folks might think about doing this. I was involved the first time for these types of hearings when we were closing down the state developmental centers, and it's very effective to have so many community service providers out there supporting the idea of moving people out of institutional settings and into more, you know, integrated, inclusive environments in their communities. And um, no one speaks better than clients and families as to the impact of not having service providers. You guys can certainly do it as well. And so the support that you can provide for these stories to come forth because of your direct connection and the impact that it has on you as service providers to be able to do what many of you have been doing for your entire professional careers, which is supporting people with developmental disabilities. Yeah, I think it's a good way to spend your time. I think my boss is going to do her very best to get there. There's ARCA meetings that are going on at the same time. This is one I would certainly be at. I will be, unfortunately, in Anaheim at the time, and trying to promote assistive technology for people with developmental disabilities in the state of California and build up our statewide resource list. Let's see here. We have a couple other things from our calendar. Just wanted to touch on. I'll jump in the chat and see if we got anything else over there too. Oh, thank you very much, Denise, for the agenda item stuff. Just again, upcoming, we have our POS public meeting, I believe, that is going to be happening shortly that we want to make sure that we have on there. And also at our upcoming board meetings, we talked about it at the PAC meeting yesterday. We talked at the Client Advisory Committee, and we don't necessarily have to do it in here as well. But once again, we are gathering our information about upcoming activities for our performance contract. We do an annual performance contract with our regional center, and we have that delivered to us via performance contract feedback at altaregional.org. And so if you are interested in that, that will be a discussion at our upcoming board meetings, and be plenty of opportunities to give us feedback before we have to finalize our upcoming plan for next year. Carly, we got the hashtag contest. I think I can share my screen real quickly. You are becoming, again, the hashtag expert for our regional center. So I'm just going to share the screen real quickly, and maybe you can plug that. And then we can also just remind folks to do their reporting back about the DSP collaborative job fairs that they've attended and their people that they've hired. And then also, so let's start with the hashtag contest real quick.
Yeah, I am quickly becoming the hashtag expert and learning much more about social media because I do not know much about social media at all. I'm on a steep learning curve. So we are starting we have already started a hashtag contest. We are looking for a hashtag to use for all of our employment related posts, any internship highlights, any employment features to use on our main Alta social media pages, but also on our upcoming DSP collaborative social media pages. We want to get the community involved. We want suggestions from our clients, our vendor community. we already, I think I checked this morning, I think we had about 40 submissions. Those are those are from individuals. Many individuals submitted multiple, so I don't know how many individual submissions we have, but we had about 40 individuals who made submissions. The end date is deadline is March 20th to get everything in. You can just click the link here to submit your ideas. And then the winner will be the first to be highlighted on our pages utilizing this new hashtag. For those of you who don't know what a hashtag is, we use it across multiple platforms to drive everyone to this content. So we're very excited to get this going. It will the submissions will be narrowed down by the client advisory committee. They'll pick the top few, and then it'll go to Lori and the executive management team to select the winner. And then a reminder, I believe that probably everyone on here has, if you have attended the Sierra College DSP DSP job fair, the DICE job fair, I'm thinking that if you attend the Coffee with Community Services meetings, you probably are the ones that have responded to the feedback survey. But if you haven't, just a reminder, we have almost everyone. Just a few more that I've been making some links out to. And thank you, Shamir. I do actually have Gary and I have a meeting with Leah next week to do a little crash course on social media. So yeah, just remember, I'll put the link in the chat for if you attended the Sierra College DICE job fair and have not completed the follow-up survey, I'll put the link in the chat to do so.
We absolutely promise not to roll this into people's HCBS reviews. Right.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Hey, so again, thank you so much, folks, for participating today. Thank you for a fantastic presentation, Melinda, to start us off. Again, I hope this breaks down some of the barriers for folks and increases folks' comfort in the communication. So we're going to keep doing this and refining what we want. And please respond back to Melinda's survey about things that you might want covered as well, too. So thank you so much for that. Again, Michael did a great job last week, and appreciate everyone that presented today, and we'll talk to folks next week. Take care.